The Buddha's Findings, the Middle Way, and the Four Noble Truths. After his enlightenment, the Buddha spent 7 weeks in Uruvela. Some of the time was spent consolidating his teachings, specifically, the teachings on dependent origination, see Chapter 10, were formulated during the 2nd week. Most of that time, however, was spent abiding in the state of bliss of freedom, in Pali, Vimutti Sukha. After 7 weeks, he considered whether he should teach the Dharma or not. He was inclined toward not teaching because teaching would be tiresome and troublesome. However, he also recognized all the suffering in the world and saw that living beings are capable of resolving it. Consequently, he felt compelled by his infinite compassion to offer the Dharma to the world. Soryu and I, in both a light-hearted and awe-inspired way, think of him in that moment as having accepted his responsibility as a Buddha. But who to teach first? The obvious candidates were Alara Kalama and Uddaka Ramaputta, the Buddha's former teachers. Unfortunately, both of them had already passed away. Next on the list were the Buddha's 5 original disciples. The Buddha found out they were residing at the Deer Park at Isipatana in Benares, so he set out to Benares to meet them. It was there that the Buddha would deliver his first major discourse. As the Buddha was approaching the Deer Park, the 5 ascetics saw him at a distance and made a deal with each other not to show the Buddha any respect. Why? Because in their eyes, the Buddha had reverted to a life of abundance, for eating solid food for nirvana's sake, and had given up on the noble search. So all 5 pretended to look cool and tried to ignore the approaching Buddha. As the Buddha got near, however, something about him deeply touched and impressed them. Without saying a word, all 5 ascetics spontaneously broke their agreement with each other. They received his bowl and robe, made ready a seat, and brought water for washing his feet. After they settled down, the Buddha began his discourse.
Monks, these 2 extremes should not be followed by one who has gone forth into homelessness seeking greater wisdom. The pursuit of sensual pleasures, which is low, vulgar, the way of worldlings, ignoble, unbeneficial. And the pursuit of self-mortification, which is painful, ignoble, unbeneficial. Avoiding either of these extremes, the Tathagata is awakened to the middle way, which gives rise to vision, knowledge, peace, enlightenment, and nirvana.
The Tathagata is the poetic way the Buddha refers to himself in 3rd person. It literally means either thus come or thus gone. It alludes to the bold authenticity and simplicity of the thusness of a fully enlightened being. For every discourse given by the Buddha, it is useful to know the context. One of the extraordinary qualities of the Buddha's teachings is that they are useful in every context. But the cherry on top is that knowing the context of the original teaching makes it even more useful. Therefore, the compilers of the text generally recorded where and to whom each teaching was given. The context here is that the 5 ascetics held the then popular belief that self-mortification brings about greater wisdom, which is why the first thing the Buddha did was to bust that myth, while also mentioning that the pursuit of sensual pleasures is equally unbeneficial for one seeking greater wisdom. Though this insight is useful even for modern people like us, it was probably more useful for those 5 ascetics because, on an average weekday, you and I don't wake up in the morning thinking, I'm going to torture my body all day today to gain greater wisdom. Still, the Buddha's teaching was henceforth known as the middle way, because it avoids overloading oneself with bodily pleasure or bodily pain. In the rest of the discourse, the Buddha covered topics central to all of Buddhism: the nature of suffering, the cause of suffering, the cessation of suffering, nirvana, and the path to liberation from suffering. These are known as the 4 Noble Truths. Back in the Chapter 1, we mentioned that Dharma is universal law pertaining to suffering and freedom from suffering, and that we are specifically interested in these 4 subdomains of Dharma. 1. The nature of suffering. 2. The causes of suffering. 3. The cessation of suffering. 4. The methods for ending suffering. Each of the 4 noble truths addresses one of the 4 subdomains of Dharma in the same order. We will explore each of the 4 noble truths in the next 4 chapters.